Long gone are the days of waiting to be seen in a doctor's office only to have that awkward conversation with your healthcare provider. Wisp gives you access to sexual and reproductive healthcare from the comfort of your home. Get treatment for BV, yeast infections, UTIs, and much more delivered directly to your home or ready for pickup at your local pharmacy in less than 3 hours. The best part? Wisp is discreet, convenient, and you don't need medical insurance to receive care or prescription medication. Visit us today at hellowisp.com.
And after months and months of tests and visits to neurologists, I ironically was diagnosed with MS myself.
When you were training for an event for MS.
That's right. I was doing this ride really for him. And then it turns out that I had the very same condition.
Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I'm your host, Joanne Crone, joined here by the delightful Bree Tucker.
Why, hello, everybody. How are you?
We are talking all about being gentle with ourselves today, which is coming at such a good time because the other night I had a really, really hard time being gentle with myself when all of this chaos was happening. And I decided to cancel a few things the next morning so I can get sleep. I had a hard time doing it. I thought, Brie, I was being lazy. I thought I was being selfish and entitled because there are other people who could push through it. And why wasn't I pushing through it? So I'm super excited to have this conversation today.
Yeah, I'm kind of giggling to myself because that's what we have given me as the unofficial role to be like, Joanne, just text me and I will tell you, you deserve to break. You deserve to have a nap. And I can say that for anybody else. I'm just not good at doing that for myself, but that's okay. We all work on it. It's a work in progress.
We're not good at doing it for ourselves. We're going to tackle today. If you feel like doing less is lazy, we're going to counter all that today because we have with us Courtney Carver. She's the founder of BeMoreWithLess.com and the author of Soulful Simplicity and just released her third book, Gentle. Rest more, stress less, and live the life you actually want. She helps people simplify their lives so they have space, time, and energy for what really matters to them and is the proud mom to a daughter. So with that, let's get on with the show.
You want mom life to be easier. That's our goal too. Our mission is to raise more self-sufficient and independent kids, and we're going to have fun doing it. We're going to help you delegate and step back. Each episode will tackle strategies for positive discipline, making our kids more responsible and making our lives better in the process. Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast.
Courtney, welcome to the podcast. You could not come on at a better time with all this stress in our lives right now. I'm so excited to get into it and especially hear your story because you are known for talking about simplicity. And there was a very pivotal life event for you that had you going in this direction. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I too was living a very stressful life. And I have to say, no matter when I am talking to people about this book, they say this couldn't have come at a better time because there's so much stress in my life. It's not a time sensitive thing. It seems like we're all dealing with a lot all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I thought that was how to be a proper adult by being really stressed out, overcommitting myself, never saying no to anything, going above and beyond, jumping through all the hoops, climbing all the ladders, and on and on and on. And in 2006, my body said, I don't think we're going to do this anymore. And here's why. I was training for an event in Salt Lake City where I live called the MS 150. It's a cycling event to raise money for multiple sclerosis research. And I got really sick because I was, of course, doing this on top of everything else I was doing, which was far too much. And I had unbelievable vertigo, like hold on to the walls vertigo.
Oh my God, I hate that.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
And exhaustion, like just extreme fatigue. I had tingling in my face and numbness in my hands, or vice versa. It mixes and matches. And after months and months of tests and visits to neurologists, I ironically was diagnosed with MS myself.
When you were training for an event for MS.
That's right, because my boss at the time had MS. And so I was doing this ride really for him. And then it turns out that I had the very same condition.
Okay, that's a Lifetime movie right there. That's like the intro to a Lifetime movie, I think, quite personally.
Well, it was definitely dramatic for
Yeah.
me. I just couldn't believe that was happening. And I didn't know what to do with that because I only had one vision of MS, which is what my boss had been experiencing. I had only known him while he was in a wheelchair and experiencing lots and lots of rapid progressive MS. And little did I know there were a lot of other versions. In fact, frustrating for a lot of people, MS shows up so differently for each individual.
Yeah. Interesting.
And after like that initial shock and fear wore off, I started doing a lot of research about like how do people live well with MS, because I had experienced all of these symptoms for years, but never all at once. And the thing that my research kept coming back to was that stress impacted MS and other autoimmune and chronic conditions in a negative way. So while I certainly don't think that my lifestyle caused me to have MS, I think it exacerbated the symptoms and potentially progression. And so I decided in that moment to, at first I was like, that's it. I'm just going to eliminate stress altogether and like continue
Did you get stressed if you got stressed? Is that?
I was like, I'm going to be the best stress reducer ever.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not going to care about anything
except not being stressed, which I'm stressed about. But
Right.
I'm down. Yeah. No, I've been down the same road, Courtney. That's why I bring it up, because I have a chronic condition as well. I have ulcerative colitis, and autoimmune disease. Stress does exacerbate my symptoms too, and you have to wonder, just like how you wondered with yourself. I was in a period of really high stress when I was first diagnosed. And you do see that correlation between those things, between the stress and then your symptoms. But you talk about rest as a necessity, not a luxury. And like me, like so many other women, we struggle to believe that it's necessary. Why do you think so many women push against this idea of rest?
Well, I think we struggle to believe that we deserve it because
yes.
we feel like we always have to earn our rest.
Mm-hmm.
When I finish everything on my to-do list, I will chill out for a minute. Or if I was good enough, or if I worked hard enough, then I can take a break. But what's happening is we're measuring ourselves by how much we get done. And so it's never enough. We're never done. We have to keep living up to this version of ourselves that really is impossible to maintain. And there's never room for rest. So yes, we don't rest because we're doing too much, but why are we doing so much?
Why are we doing so much? It's really interesting because I'm told to rest a lot by people in my life, Brie, and my husband as well. But then I notice my husband's case, he stays up until like 1 or 2 in the morning getting stuff done for work. Then he goes to sleep for 4 hours and he wakes up again. And on the weekends, he's just done for. He will just sit and like listen to albums and all of those things. And I look at that and I'm like, oh my gosh, well, he gets to rest, but I'm not working as hard as he is. So why should I rest like he rests when he's working so hard? So I think like having those comparisons in our lives and these unrealistic work standards also may contribute to that. What do you think about that?
I think it all comes back to measuring our worth by what we get done. And not that we need to solve your husband's problems today, but I highly recommend.
I've been working on it.
The book Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker.
I've read that.
Oh.
Do you know my latest thing is I'm afraid he is going to have dementia or Alzheimer's based on some science in that book, because you need sleep to like clear out I don't know what it is. I'm going to sound like completely uninformed on this, but basically our brains need sleep for many different reasons. And they're connecting dementia and Alzheimer's to not enough sleep, lack of sleep.
It's a lot. So. And I don't know if you can really make up for it in a weekend. And I don't believe we can make up for a year of sleep deprivation by going on vacation for a week either.
Right. I
I can't.
completely agree with that.
I think, yeah, I completely agree with it too. Well, in your book, Gentle, you break the journey into 3 parts. You break it into rest, less, and rise. And right after this, we are going to get into each of those 3 parts.
Okay, guys, the C word, it runs in my family, and a yearly physical just doesn't give me all the things I need to know. And that's why I am so excited about Function Health.
Exactly. We know you've heard us talk about it, but Function Health is truly the all-in-one health platform that helps you take control of your health through data. Instead of guessing what's happening inside your body, Function helps you know, providing access to over 160 tests.
These tests go way beyond most traditional checkup. We're talking about insights to your thyroid, hormones, liver, heart health, autoimmunity, kidney function, and even heavy metal toxicity.
What I love is that your Function membership includes biannual testing. So you establish a baseline and then you can easily spot changes over time. I'm really interested in the tests that help with understanding food and emotions and boosting my energy. So take control of your health outside the doctor's office today and get a $100 credit towards your annual membership at functionhealth.com/no guilt. But act fast. The $100 credit is only for the first 1,000 listeners. Sign up right now at functionhealth.com/no guilt. That's functionhealth.com/no guilt.
If you were fixing your bra straps, fussing with wires, or battling your bra during this podcast, stop right now. You'll want to hear this. Those bra problems, those problems you thought you had to live with, Third Love has solved them. Their bras make it easy to get what you want, whether it's ultimate cleavage, a smooth look, or stopping your shirt buttons from pulling. With over 60 sizes, including half cups you won't find anywhere else, you'll never be stuck between 2 sizes that don't fit. So stop settling for bad bras. Now's the time to treat yourself and get your problem solved. Save $15 on your first order with code PODCAST15 at thirdlove.com.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
So, Courtney, in your book, you break the journey into 3 parts: rest, less, and rise. So you talked about being diagnosed with MS, but what was your personal turning point in realizing that you needed all 3 of those parts?
It's really been kind of my healing journey that has made me realize that. So I resisted rest for my whole life, like many people. Even as a very young child, I didn't want to take naps. All through adulthood, I was just, I don't have time for that. I'm too busy. I can't do that right now. I'll sleep when I'm dead. Whatever the things that we say.
Work hard, play hard.
Work hard, play hard.
Rise and grind. No.
Nose to the grindstone. Buckle down.
All of those are imprinted in our minds.
They certainly are. And I ate those words for breakfast. And so for me, once I had that MS diagnosis and started doing things very slowly to feel better and noticed that it was working, I got really curious about what else might be helpful. And so I didn't set out to simplify my life. I set out to reduce stress. But as I looked back, I noticed that it really was just simplicity in action that was reducing all the stress in my life. And rest for me had to come first because I just know how crucial it is for our bodies, our brains, our peace of mind. And I know this for a fact because if I wake up after 5 hours of sleep, I'm terrible to be around. I don't even want to be around myself. I can't think my way through any solutions. I don't have any creativity. Like I'm just out of gas. Mm-hmm. But if I have a great night of sleep, give me 7 or 8 hours and I'm good to go. You can notice right away.
Yeah.
And
oh, yeah. I'm the same way. Like my sleep is so important to me. What I mentioned a little bit in the intro was that we had gotten back late from a concert And we came home to just find like a mess just left by my dog. And I was up until like 1:30 in the morning with my daughter cleaning up after. I don't know if you know what happy tail is, but not many people do when I say happy tail. I have a Staffordshire Terrier, and it's very similar to a pit bull. And you know, those long tails on pit bulls, if they're not docked. So what happens with those long tails, when they're very happy, the tail goes back and forth for producing these little cuts on the tail. And if you think about a cut
Aw.
and the tail wagging back and forth, it's like a murder splatter painting, Courtney, is what we had to clean up after the happy tail. But
Awful.
I had planned to wake up early to run a session for our balance community that I run every morning at 6 a.m. And I canceled it because I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to be good the rest of the day because I need the sleep.
Yeah, if you're lucky, that would have been 5 hours.
Yeah, if I'm lucky, it would have been only 5 hours. But I felt so guilty doing it, Courtney. I felt like I was failing people. I felt like I was acting entitled because I wouldn't just do it tired, even though that I knew that that was the best thing for me. So I totally identify with the whole you need sleep thing.
It kind of reminds me of when I used to work in an office and people would come to work, myself included, so sick, like just downing the Dayquil and showing up sick.
Did that. Yes.
What?
Same.
Like, then we're just like making everybody else sick. We're delaying our own recovery. It's wild. And it's that whole notion of like, I have to prove myself. I am not weak. I am strong, even when I'm sick. And I had a little bit of that happening in my early MS days, you know, especially during the diagnosis where I would go sit in an MRI just terrified about what they might find, crying afterwards, feeling sick, and then go to work and just pretend that everything was fine. I didn't need to do that. So now, like when you have to cancel something and you feel that guilt, I think it's really great to notice it and sort of reassess. I mean, I think a lot of our guilt feelings are more the feeling of discomfort versus actual guilt, because like, are you really doing something bad or wrong? And I understand when you say you think you're letting people down, but maybe what you're doing is demonstrating your entire mission. You're walking the walk here. And it's giving us all permission to say, okay, like, I can't do that thing today. I'm exhausted, or I don't want to do this other thing. So I'm going to say no in advance.
And your self-worth isn't tied to that.
Right. You're still as amazing as you were
Yes, you're
when
still
you set the
fabulous.
appointment. Right. Yeah.
It's funny bringing that up, Courtney, because this interview is itself a lesson in Bree and I making the choice to rest instead of going forward, because we had to reschedule with you because both of us were sick at the initial interview time. And I love that reframing you did of actually walking the walk, because I also think about it as being a mom and having my kids see what I do. Do I want my kids to see me completely sick and just going through and faking it anyways? Or do I want them seeing somebody who takes care of themselves, somebody who values herself enough and doesn't go into this people-pleasing mentality of trying to make everyone else happy over her own health?
Well, okay, hold on. I have to throw in this little tidbit too. How long did it also take many of us as adults to figure out what our body actually needs when it gets sick? It takes years for us to figure out what we need. Oh, I need rest. Oh, I need fluids. I need this combination of this and that and the other. And why did we all search through that? I feel like because we saw that. Like that was what we saw growing up. Was if we grew up in the 80s and 90s, that was the push. You work, no matter what. Because
Perfect
again,
attendance awards.
right, because again, strength and grittiness is what was prized rather than self-well-being, because it was like being tight, being the strongest no matter what, against all obstacles. And man, that is just impossible.
It ruined us and we're all healing from it.
Well, yeah. So rest came first. And then the second section is called less. And this is really my main wheelhouse, is simplifying your life, living with less stuff, living with less busyness, living with less stress. And so that less section was so important. I think we have to, once we rest, which I think we do first and very consistently, then we clear the decks instead of just piling more and more and more on our plates. We make space for what we really want in our lives.
And I think that's a hard thing for especially moms to do, to actually figure out what we do want more of in our lives, because we're so concerned about the needs of everybody else that it can be hard to distinguish, hey, do I really want this? Will this really be something that fulfills me and makes me happy? Or is this just going to be quote unquote a waste of time that I could have spent doing other things that benefit my family, or that I will regret if I haven't done it later on? You see, you're getting an insight into my mind here, Courtney.
Yeah.
Well, and my mind is like the hoarder's mind. I'm like, well, what can I take away? Because everything has value, everything has worth. And what makes this task less important than that task?
Well, so that's why the rest component is so important, because otherwise you're working from this sort of frenzied place where, of course, it's harder to make clear decisions. And you have to start with the easy stuff, like your 42 coffee mugs, even though you only use your favorite one every day. I'm not calling anybody out. I don't know what your cabinets look like.
We just did that this weekend, Courtney. I've got to say, you're seeing me. You are seeing me. And I had to make my husband help because I didn't want to let go of the coffee mugs.
But maybe that's where you're starting. So you're starting with the things that are easy, with the duplicates. And then you're working your way up to the more complex things like your obligations, expectations, relationships, projects, things like that. But every time you're making space in one area of your life, you're making a little space inside too, to make that decision on the next thing a little bit easier. It's not an overnight process. There's nothing fast or furious about this gentle work. It is gentle for a reason. And that is to remove the stress, remove the shame and the blame and the pressure to be the best declutterer or the best stress reducer. Like, who cares?
True.
Take your time. Like, taking this on in a stressful way, it just makes no sense, because then you're not doing the thing that is going to make the real difference in your life. You're just going to create space temporarily and then fill it back up because you're stressed.
So that makes me think of a lot of the moms we work with here at No Guilt Mom, who are really stuck in this default parent mode where they are doing everything in their household for their families. And it's also this mindset about how they're afraid to do less because they're afraid everything will fall apart around them. And so I want to hear your advice to them right after this.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
What does every USAA member have in common? Family. We're one big family who supports the military community and their eligible families. And if you, your parent, or spouse served, you could join our family and save big on auto insurance. Visit USAA.com/join today to check your eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there is one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
So Courtney, right before our break, we talked about the moms out there who are the default parent, who are doing everything in their homes and are scared to let one thing drop and do less. What would you say to them?
I would say it's okay if things drop, for starters. They're going to, as you practice this. And that's how you're going to know what is most important. I also think if you're in a partnership in any way, that you read the book Fair Play by, I think her name's Eve Rodsky.
Yes.
Two-time guest on the podcast.
We
She's
love her.
amazing.
Great. Okay. So your listeners know, like, the expectation is that you're going to carry not only all the daily logistics, but you're going to manage the emotional labor of the entire family all the time. And it's not sustainable for your health. It's not sustainable for your relationships. It's not going to work for very long. And for any of us who have been in a relationship like that, where you are doing it all, you understand a lot of resentment builds and you're exhausted. So I think it is important to shift that expectation instead of looking for more productivity hacks. You don't need to figure out how to do more or how to be more efficient. That's not your job. And frankly, it's not within your actual control or capacity.
I think letting go, it's the hardest thing to do, and it's the answer, because a lot of us think that other people's homes look very, very different than they actually are. I've let a lot of stuff go in my home, and I am on board with you in the simplicity thing. We try to have as little stuff as possible. But you're going to see the dishes piled up in my sink. You're going to see my son's room is an absolute mess. Like, I can't even walk in there. And it's just one of those things I have to just close the door and walk away, because that is something I have let go of. There's blood splatters on our walls.
But I swear to God, it's not an American Psycho kind of crime scene. It's not that.
But it is hard to let go. It's hard to let go of the idea of perfection or how it has to be, and actually let things be. Your third part of your book, Rise. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it was really important for me to include this because I think people get scared when you recommend that they are gentler with themselves, or that they rest, or that they do less, because then it's like, but how do I achieve my goals? How do I support what I care about in the world? And I think these things all coexist, but you can't rise from a place of stress and exhaustion. You can rise from a place of being well rested, well taken care of, very connected to yourself, and having less to deal with overall. So I wanted to include that. Like, yes, have your goals, build your company, start your nonprofit, start a podcast, do the things that you really want to do, but start from a place of taking care of you.
Yeah. And that's a hard message to hear. So, like, if you're listening right now and you hear that message and you're like, easy for them to say, let's dig into it just a little bit more. Because, Courtney, you wrote that hustle culture really made you sick. So, like, how do you define your success now versus how you defined it when you were hustling?
I think now I'm so much more intentional about my work, and I'm still growing and trying new things. And I mean, I just wrote and published a new book. That takes a lot of time, but I'm not doing it on top of multiple launches and trying to hit a certain number of subscribers on Instagram or my email list. When I'm working on one thing, the other things have to slide. They're not all going to be happening at the same time. I don't think we can be in a creative phase and a growth phase at the same time, being completely immersed in either one, which is sometimes really what it takes. So I'm just willing to let a lot of stuff go. I mean, I think you're right. Letting go is really the key to a lot of this stuff. And I've also kind of constantly been redefining what enough means for me in any particular situation, because with the way that business is now, I mean, the messages that you're getting online, you know, you can make $10,000 in a day or $500,000 a month. All you have to do is like be on Instagram for 24 hours and post reels and lose yourself to whatever. I really don't think it's that sustainable for people. It feels like this big MLM out there in this messaging. Yeah, it works for some people.
It kind of is.
It actually is.
Yeah, because like that life never stops. Joanne, just this morning, you were doing your Joe and Joe and you were talking about how you were feeling sick. And it's hard when you're running your own business and it's just you. And maybe if you're lucky, one other person, your best friend. So then when you're like, I need to rest, I need to take a break. And I think a lot of women feel like this because of so much that we're doing. They think everything's going to fall apart because there's nobody else to pick up my duties, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I was actually going to ask this question along those same veins because, Courtney, I'm wondering like what you do in terms of letting other people take over and delegate. Because I know that for many of our listeners out there, that the control is real. You want to have things done a certain way at a certain time. And because I've known like in my own life, the more I tried to hold on to myself, the more everything fell apart if I like got a little headache or I was out or anything like that. So I'm wondering, Courtney, how do you structure your life so that things won't fall completely apart? Like the important things will get taken care of if you happen to not be available for like a few days or need to be
Well,
sick.
for starters, I have fewer important things to take care of. That's
Because you went through the 3 pieces.
Well, just because I know what it's like when you're trying to balance everything or prioritize everything, you're prioritizing nothing. Not
Yeah.
everything can matter at the same time. And I'm lucky enough to work with people I trust and to have different teams for different projects. And I have to let them do what they do best. And I do what I do best. And even the things I do best, I don't always do that well. I mean, I write a lot and I feel like I'm a really good writer. I'm not a great editor. And so every time I post something, I'll get an email about a typo. And I just have become okay with that. I'm like, wow, someone's really paying attention. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm
Yeah,
I'm the same. Like I'm like I don't even care about typos anymore because like when you go through the writing process and for everyone who if you're listening if you ever thought of writing a book but you're like oh my gosh I have the worst grammar I'm the worst punctuation it doesn't matter that stuff's fixed for you. Like
Right.
it's
If
really the
you
big
have good
ideas.
editors, you're good to
Yeah.
go. And
Yeah.
that's important to know so that you can release that pressure around the things that, I mean, my gosh, if I tried to know where every comma went in this book that I wrote, I'd still be writing it. Like it just never
Hmm.
would have worked out.
Yeah.
So I just had to be okay kind of winging it a bit on that part so that I could get the parts that I thought were really important down. And that's how. And then I also have to be willing to like, okay, this is not going to be normally January would be a time where I would do a big launch for my membership. This past year, I was releasing this book in February. There's no way I could have done it, but I would have felt terrible. My team would have hated me. Like it wouldn't have been a great time. And 20 years ago, I would have buckled through that, pushed through it, made it happen at all
Right.
costs.
Mhm.
And now my question to myself is like, at what cost?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're not going to make as much this month. Oh, well, moving on.
Yeah. If a woman listening right now, she wants to live more gently, but she just feels really overwhelmed, what's one small step that you recommend her taking?
So I think the smallest step that we can take is that every day we need to be asking ourselves this question. What is the gentlest thing I can do for myself in this moment? And so you're asking that when you are feeling overwhelmed, when you're at your computer and you feel your jaw clenched, when you notice that you have to pee, but you are telling yourself, as soon as I finish this, I will.
That's
Like,
free.
what?
You're totally seeing me. Oh my gosh, Courtney. You have a camera in my house.
Yeah, I'm so thirsty. I'll go get a drink of water once I hit this, whatever. It's like, no, go get yourself a drink of water right now. Go pee. Do what you have to do, please, to take care of yourself. And some days you're going to say, I need to put my face in the sunshine, or I need to take a walk, or I need to call this person I haven't talked to in a long time. Know what you want and then give yourself permission to do it. It's usually the tiniest things. But what happens during this process while you're giving yourself these tiny things every day is you're learning how to listen to yourself and you're learning how to trust yourself. And those things will eventually manage overwhelm in a bigger way. But honestly, the secret to managing overwhelm is owning less, doing less, and caring less. And I know that's not the tiny answer, but that is the answer. Own less, do less, care less.
I love that. Courtney, like you just had like a mic drop moment for me when you just said, honor your little needs, because that is how you're learning how to trust yourself. I feel like that is a struggle right now for so many women, learning how to trust exactly what they need and honoring it. So I love that.
And let me just say, if I can, it's not your fault or their fault that they're not honoring it. They're not honoring it because they're not hearing it, because they're so freaking busy listening to everything else that they can't hear those inside voices that are like, help me.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely true. Well, every interview, Courtney, we end with a high note. And we want to know what's exciting that's coming up for you right now in your life.
So this is an exciting work thing for me. I have had Substack envy for years. And I don't know why. I just have. I just feel like there's a place for me there. And so in my book, there's a chapter called Little Saturday, and it's all about creating ritual that helps you start enjoying your life instead of waiting for the weekend and saving rest and pleasure for later. And so I am starting a Substack called Little Saturday that I can't even tell you all about it yet. I'm just going to tell you it's going to be this quiet corner of the internet that people can really learn how to not only simplify their lives, but to trust themselves and to enjoy themselves. So that is coming up in the very near future, and I'm really excited about it.
That is
awesome.
exciting. That is exciting.
you.
Well, Courtney, I highly recommend your book to everybody who feels overwhelmed, who feels like they are constantly busy. I know a friend, actually, we're meeting for happy hour today that I really want to recommend your book to. And so,
Thank you.
Courtney, this has been a delight. And thank you so much for joining us. And we'll talk to you later.
My pleasure.
Okay, I have to say something. I really thought that I had been getting very good at recognizing when I need a break and resting and all that. Dare I say, I was getting a little arrogant that like, hey, I've got this like resting shiznit down. And then Courtney pointed out all the crap I'm doing that's not letting myself rest. I 100% do the thing where I'm doing the potty dance in my seat trying to finish a project. Or I'll be like out of water and I'll be like, okay, well, as soon as I finish this, I'll go upstairs. And I can feel the pains in my stomach already starting because I'm like that dehydrated. But I'll still do it to myself. And yet I'm sitting here going like, oh, but I'm so good at being gentle with myself.
You're still doing like all of those things. Yeah.
Apparently not. It's a work in progress, like she said.
There was a post that I saw on Instagram that I wanted to bring up because I think that so many women, and you guys could hear it going if you heard my music go right there, but I think that so many women can really relate to this one. It is a video first, and I'll show it to Bree right here. It's a video of this man getting out of his cold plunge. And it says 6 things people think are normal, but are actually red flags of childhood trauma. And you're going to see where I'm going with this in a little bit. Ready? Okay. So the things are, Bree, over apologizing for everything.
What?
So you say sorry even when it's not your fault. Feeling guilty for resting or doing nothing. Struggling to accept compliments or love. Constantly expecting the worst. You're hiding, you're slinking away, but get ready for it. Being hyper independent. So, like, you avoid asking for help or trusting others, and feeling responsible for everyone else's emotions. And I read that and I'm like, childhood trauma or being a woman?
That is 100% the case.
It is being a woman. It's
that
like,
is.
Yeah.
Those are all the expectations of women.
Yes. I commented that and I was like looking at other comments and like, I'm like, oh, yep, being a girl. This is being a girl.
Oh my gosh.
We have this ingrained in us. We feel guilty for resting. We're constantly trying to do all the things, constantly trying to prove our worth and how we are worthy.
Yes, I was going to say, proving that we are worth as much as our male counterparts.
Yes, when honestly, we can definitely handle more than our male counterparts. our male counterparts can like focus. I'm sorry, male counterparts. Not all of you are this way. Some of you are very enlightened individuals. I would say my husband's one of them and your husband's one of them. But a lot of men, especially those giving advice on the internet, have these like very constrained, narrow points of view where they're able to just focus on this one thing for so long. And women, we are so scattered because our partners in our lives are focusing on one thing, leaving all the rest for us to do for the family.
Yeah.
And it's unfair and it shouldn't be that way. And I just want to say that to you right now because it is unfair if you are being expected to do everything else when your partner is allowed to focus on one thing.
Yeah. And a lot of times people don't even know that situation is happening.
No.
So we 100% recommend getting Courtney's book, Gentle, Rest More, Stress Less, and Live the Life You Actually Want. We have a link here in the show notes. You totally need to get this. It is a huge eye opener. Even if you already listening to this and you're like, yeah, I know.
You could be like Brie.
Read it. Read it because it's one of those messages that I think that we just need to keep hearing and hearing and hearing. And every time we hear it, if we make at least an inch of progress in the direction of rest and focus and better self-care for ourselves, that's a win.
Yeah,
that's a
win. It is a win. So until next time, remember, the best mom is a happy mom. Take care of you. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks for stopping by.
If you'd like to support the show further, you can share episodes with your loved ones, leave a positive review, or follow us on social media at No Guilt Mom. You could also show your love by visiting our amazing podcast sponsors. We have a link in the show notes.